Hi everyone, my name is Michael Cardo. I'm the DA Shadow Minister of Employment and Labour, and welcome to the third UIF Bulletin. There are three things I wanted to touch on this week. Firstly, the good news is that June applications are open for the COVID-19 Ters benefit after a couple of false starts. You'll recall that the portal went live in the last week of June and then was taken down almost immediately afterwards. And the reason for that was that the UIF discovered that there were significant security breaches when the portal went live. In fact, I was personally approached by a number of employers to say that they had clicked on the link when June applications went live and they were redirected to a page where they could see the personal information of their competitor companies. In other words, they could see the full names, ID numbers, UIF numbers, banking details and remuneration details for their competitors. And obviously, this constitutes a significant security breach. It's also a violation of the Protection of Personal Information Act. And what we as the DA have recommended is that if employers and employees know that their personal information has been compromised in some way, they should report that immediately to the information regulator. The information regulator is a statutory body that is set up in terms of the Protection of Personal Information Act. Secondly, I'd like to give you some feedback on some of the fraud cases that have been reported in relation to the Ters benefit. There are currently 75 cases that have been reported with regards to fraud on Ters. 59 of those cases are under investigation. 2 criminal cases have been opened, and the most well-known of those is the case in which one single solitary individual received 5.7 million rand into his bank account. That was actually meant for 1,400 workers, and this individual then proceeded to launder that money. He deposited it into 28 different bank accounts, but the asset forfeiture unit of the National Prosecuting Authority got onto him, and there has been an investigation underway. 6 arrests were made, and those 6 people appeared in the Specialised Crime Commercial Court on Monday. They were released on 5,000 rand bail, and the case will be postponed to September the 7th. The DA thinks that this is just the tip of the iceberg as regards fraud. We all know that state institutions in South Africa are particularly susceptible to fraud and corruption, and it would be remarkable if the UIF were any different. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. And then thirdly, we know that Ters benefits come to an end at the end of June. So 40 billion rand was set aside for the months of April, May and June. The Minister has indicated that Ters payments will stop when June comes to an end, although the UIF will honour all obligations for April, May and June. We know that roughly 30 billion rand has been paid out so far, and what the DA is going to do is to make sure that we fight for sectors such as tourism and hospitality in order to ensure that they aren't left high and dry. Both Michael and I have been approached by a number of employers in that sector worried about the lives and livelihoods of the employees in tourism and hospitality. So we're going to keep up the pressure with the UIF to make sure that those sectors aren't left stranded. And I'll hand over to Michael now to tell us a bit more.
Hi everyone, thank you for listening to us today. It's Michael Bagram. I'm the Labour spokesperson, and I thank Dr. Cardo for the report. It's almost macabre to hear his report that the applications for June only became available on the first weekend of July. Not only has the entire process been completely dysfunctional since March 2020, but we've had a litany of excuses from the Department of Employment and Labour, most of them unbelievable. Our government, through our Minister of Employment and Labour, has denied culpability and has denied that he has failed the workforce of South Africa, which he has indeed done. It is shocking to note, absolutely shocking to note, that the Portfolio Committee of Employment and Labour in Parliament has basically whitewashed the complete and utter failure and breakdown of the UIF. Not only now is our minister starting to make some remarks about the possibility of running out of money and the need to approach Treasury, but he's also denying their responsibility completely. As we move into the mass retrenchments across the board, it is absolutely vital for every employer to ensure that the UI-19 form that has to be completed as soon as possible is properly done and submitted to get the UIF claims. These claims must show that the individual has been retrenched, and we're going to have to start claiming that. This claim must either be in line or online or in person. And in fact, each individual has the responsibility to follow it up themselves. It must be remembered that the employers are obligated to complete this form of the retrenchment, so there won't be any delays like we've seen all along right throughout this process. The failure by the UIF, and in fact our government, is a major gross human rights violation. The fact that literally hundreds of thousands of South Africans are starving because of the lack of the administration in the UIF needs to be answered by the governing party. In any decent democracy, the minister responsible would have resigned, and the portfolio committee, trying to exercise some oversight, would have called for heads to roll. But no, our committee has endorsed the so-called good work done by the Department of Employment and Labour. It is almost like living through a nightmare. Our government is not acknowledging it, but our government must accept responsibility, and our minister should resign with immediate effect. The Democratic Alliance will watch this and keep a very careful oversight of it altogether. Thank you. It's Michael Bagram.